All right, let's talk about anxiety. Anxiety is experienced by pretty much every human being, and some people to a profound degree that impacts their entire life. Emotions are meant to direct us. They are meant to move us in a certain direction. The problem is that direction is often not conscious, it's not intentional, and it's often not correct. So we need to interface with our emotions. We need to not only understand why we're feeling a certain way, but what the function of the emotion is, what it's trying to get you to do, because your emotions are trying to get you to do something, and they're also trying to get others around you to do something. We're social animals, and so our emotions are part of that social relating process. It's something that is a form of communication, information, movement that exists often below our conscious, intentional awareness. And this is something that we want to correct, at least to the extent that we normalize our emotions and they aren't controlling us anymore. So anxiety is a great example of this. What I'm going to say to you makes absolute sense. And once you hear it, it will click and it will feel like you've always known it, but it is incredibly non-intuitive. In other words, you didn't know this consciously before. It's just going to make sense after you hear it. So this is an overarching sort of function or directionality to anxiety. So again, if we want to have any chance of relating to it correctly, we need to understand what it's trying to get us to do, because like everything in life, we need to work with what is. It isn't about controlling your emotions. It isn't about ignoring your emotions. It isn't about not having emotions. It is about relating to this information correctly. So I'm going to use the example of anxiety, and I'm going to use the specific example of driving my car. So if I'm driving my car down the highway and I'm for a moment not paying attention, and all of a sudden I notice a semi-truck in front of me, I'm going to experience anxiety, a flash of anxiety, and that anxiety might compel my mind to think a catastrophic thought. What if that truck stops and decapitates me? Often what also happens is we'll misrelate to that catastrophizing. We'll identify with it, and our minds will become more anxious because of that catastrophizing. So then my mind might take that emotion and that initial thought of, oh my God, I might get decapitated if that truck stops abruptly. And the next thing you know, you're thinking that, okay, and then once that happens, I'm going to fall out of the vehicle and other cars are going to run over my decapitated body for the rest of the day. So your mind has almost certainly taken some kind of obscure, totally unlikely scenario like that and entertained it at some point. So what is the mind trying to do in this type of scenario where we're thinking of this, pretty ridiculous, extreme example? And what it's trying to accomplish is everything between what is occurring and this extreme alternate reality that I'm imagining, this catastrophizing, inherently becomes possible. So everything between what is and everything between that catastrophic thought, then I am somehow more open to. It's a possibility now. And this is one of the functions of anxiety. Instead of thinking that I'm going to be at my destination in 37 minutes and 6 seconds and everything, I'm just going to listen to this, album, I'm going to listen to these songs, and everything is pre-planned and predetermined, and there is this expectation of simplicity and directness. In other words, no variability. Life is sterile. Anxiety is meant to shake us out of this, because how can we live functional lives if we think we know everything that's going to occur? This isn't how life works. This isn't how we need to relate to life. So when you are catastrophizing, understand that part of the function can be, should be, just to open you up to the possibilities of life. So what that means is maybe I need to use, this time to really pay attention to my driving and to really pay attention to my approach to life and the realization that I need to be adaptive, I need to be flexible, I need to be open. The purpose of living is to change. It's not to live with rigid control and expectation. So hopefully that makes sense. There is an external function to anxiety. There is also an internal one. So when I am not paying attention and I'm driving and I notice that there's a semi truck in front of me, inherently with anxiety, one of the things that we often do is attack ourselves, right? We think that we're incapable. The mind goes to these extremes again, where maybe I'm a horrible driver, or maybe even a deeper level of I'm a horrible person, I could have killed everyone. This serves the exact same function as the external purpose of anxiety, which is it breaks me. It opens me up so that I might be more receptive. I might be more malleable so that I might change, because life is asking this. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need to work on that, but we need to at least be aware and make conscious choices around those moments. So my anxiety can serve, say, I think I'm a great driver, but I'm not paying attention, and all of a sudden I'm asking myself, oh my God, am I a good driver? That could be very adaptive, because no matter how good of a driver you are, you still need to pay attention to the road. And you're not a good driver if you think you're a good driver, right? You need to be open and use driving as practice. We need to use everything as practice in our own becoming. So this dual purpose, this external and internal catastrophizing, can lead to a balanced sense of self where we're open to possibilities and change, and we're also receptive to the complexities, to the harmony, to the interactions of the external world. So the next time you're catastrophizing, the next time you have a panic attack, realize in some way life is asking you, and it could be a very deep, deep sense of self. It could be a very deep, deep fundamental sense of how you're interacting and engaging with the world. But it's meant to get you to open. It's meant to get you to see complexity, to see harmony, purposefulness in your life, and to utilize that so that you might become more functional. So consider these functions of anxiety. Every emotion has a number of functions, and some of those functions, given an individual circumstance or situation, can be very practical and useful and necessary, and it's fine, and you go along with what the emotion is suggesting, but we still need to be consciously aware. So if you like these types of videos, if there are other specific emotions that you'd like me to help break down so that you can understand the function, how it's controlling you, and how you might consciously relate to it, please leave a comment below. And if you like these videos, please like and subscribe, and I will see you at the next one.